On Sunday, the 31st of May 2009, I was involved in the collision with the Central Reservation, riding back to St John's Wood Barracks, and presented with a set of circumstances which kind of dictated the rest of my life. So,
almost the most shocking thing about your entire story is that you served in the military in Afghanistan in an active war, whatever the correct term is for what was going on there, and that isn't the reason that you have one up.
It's ironic, isn't it? I do consider myself quite lucky, though, that I wasn't blown up or anything. There are a few people when in the early days of my injury who I was in my regiment, because I was going down this route of help for heroes and so on, and the various benefits of being an amputee as part of the military, who took it upon themselves to kind of ensure that I wasn't telling people that I'd been blown up,
right?
As if like I was taking glory from it,
right?
Yeah, them guys. Sorry, but call it what you want. I was in a motorcycle accident riding back to the barracks. Probably happened because I was being a bit daft, being a bit stupid. But you know, people make mistakes. There's a few people that liked to
diminish it
yeah.
Because it didn't happen in active service.
Yeah, and like
at the end of the day, it still happened.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So, and it was why as well when Help for Heroes first approached me at Headley Court, which at the time was the Defence Medical Rehabilitation Centre, I actually refused to help. I was like, I'm not a hero. Help for Heroes. Like, I've not been injured on tour, and that's when they, a chap called Mark Elliott, who is still with Help for Heroes, who helped set it up. He said to stop being stupid. Here's the help. You need the help. If you want the help, take it.
That's great.
And so, yeah, I owe a lot to that initial footstep into that side of it, to Mark Elliott from Help for Heroes.
Can you talk a little bit about the extent of the injuries?
Yeah, so I've got no memory of the accident whatsoever. I don't get flashbacks or anything. But I had hit the Central Reservation shoulder first. And it was on the A41, the Hendon, southbound Hendon Way, on a long sweeping corner. And there's on that road, if anyone that knows it, on that road, there's a fence that goes, so you've got the barrier, and there's a fence that goes down the middle. And I hit the fence where two panels meet, and it's solid steel, where two panels meet in the middle, shoulder first, which ripped my arm and shoulder off on sight. And
you had full leathers on as well, didn't you?
I had full leathers on, bust the leathers open, but the zip was still done up.
Wow.
So it's a good zip. Yeah. Ripped my arm and shoulder off on sight, pretty much. Broke both my ankles. My left forearm was snapped in various places, to the point where Owen, who was a paramedic, said your hand was cupping your elbow. And we had to pull that straight before we could put the drugs in. I can't remember any of this.
Thankfully.
But they put me into the coma in the road, intubated me on site, because I had severed my brachial plexus out of my spinal column and lacerated my internal jugular. So I was profusely bleeding. There's a chap with me, a friend from the military called Alan, who saved my life, really. He sort of controlled my blood flow at the scene before the police and the paramedics turned up. And yeah, put into the coma. And when I came out of the coma in the Royal London at Whitechapel, that's when I kind of realised the extent of what happened. I thought I was waking up in my barracks in the room. That however long I was in that coma for, I think it was a day or two. I can't recollect. Obviously, I was put into the coma, but the last vivid memory I've got is we were filtering through traffic, some traffic lights, and I was at the front. And as I got kind of a car and a half length from the front car, lights turned green. Cars are moving off, dual carriageway, so I just pulled the throttle back to get out of the way, filtering through, and yeah, it's in the outside lane of the dual carriageway, and yeah, whatever happened. So don't know how it happened, don't know why it happened. The police don't know what happened, but I said I'm pretty sure I was going probably a bit too fast for my abilities, and paid the price for it. But you learn from your mistakes, don't you? So play stupid games and you win stupid prizes.
Yeah, this is it. And age of 23 as well,
Yeah, so it's a massive shock to the system. I don't regret it happening, and like you said at the beginning, it's probably the greatest thing that happened to me.
But I imagine that in the immediate aftermath of that, that is not what you're feeling.
No, do you know what? So I was brought round from the coma, and I remember my mum and dad peering over me, and in my room in the barracks, which is a tiny little room, which I didn't have to share with anyone, my bed was right next to the wall. And so I can understand why my dad was stood on the right, because to the right it was the door and the rest of my room. But my mum being stood on the left, I was thinking, how are you stood there?
There's no space.
There's no space. Like literally, my bed's here, my window's there. But then I've got that, I'm hit by the kind of the aniseedy, peppery taste of anaesthetic in the back of my throat. Obviously, I've been in hospital, but I've had operations before, so I recognise that kind of sensation. So then I'm thinking, well, something bad has happened. I don't know what. I don't know why I'm here. I need to go put my motorbike away. And that's when it's like, you haven't got a bike. So I thought someone had pinched it and stolen it. And then the doctor came in, and that's when he sort of started at the bottom of the bed. I could see my feet were in casts. So I thought I'd broken both my legs. And how the hell I broke them? He said, you've got 2 broken ankles. The left one when he reset with pins. And then he came up to the left. And as he came up, I've noticed a blue foam cast. In it is my arm. Look into it, and there's like external fixators into my like scaffolding. He said, you've severely fractured your radius and your ulnar. You'll need plates to reset that. So then you think, oh, right, broken arm, broken ankles, right, we can live with that. It's not much really. And then he walked back down. I remember he walked back down, round the bottom, and then back up the right. And so I'm watching him. And as I'm watching him, he said, but unfortunately, and any sentence, it doesn't matter the situation that starts with unfortunately, isn't really going to bode too well. Unfortunately, after 6.5 hours of surgery, we were unable to save your... And it's time kind of slowed down. We were unable to save your right arm and shoulder. And I remember looking down, and where this should have been was the pillow. There was nothing. It wasn't there. And that's when it hit home. It was like a massive shock to the system. And I got a bit upset, and obviously anyone would. But at 23, and I think being that young as well, and being that young in life in general, vanity is a massive part of your life anyway. And I just remember thinking at the time how bad a situation this is, but then you're thinking like, who's going to want me now? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to, girls aren't going to find me attractive because I look weird and all of this. And so it's all just, it's like a ball that's being rolled down, like a snowball being rolled down. It just gets bigger and bigger as it goes down. So I was upset and whatnot. And then for some reason, I remember this verbatim, and the nurse was sort of stood here. And I said, I grabbed her gown. And I went, is the plumbing still attached and working? And she went, oh, that's fine. You've got a catheter hanging out of it. But other than that, it's fine. I went, do you know what? Nothing else really matters, does it? There's people worse off than me. And it got a few laughs. Looking back on that moment, that's the moment I can wholeheartedly say is the moment I accepted my situation for what it was. This is the situation. Okay, my arm's never coming back. I'm going to be a man with one arm for the rest of my life. What's involved with this? Probably about a week or two later, I was wheeled into the toilet. I'm non-weight bearing as well, and I just had an enema. I've never felt any more vulnerable in my life than having that. But they wheeled me into the toilet, 23 years old, and they said, when you're finished, pull the orange cord and someone will come in and tidy you up. I just went, if I can't wipe my own arse, and I've got the ability to be able to do so. I need to have a strongly worded word with myself. And so I spent an hour and a half in that toilet. My arm was reset at this point, and so I had my fingers to use. Spent an hour and a half wiping my own arse. And they said, "When you pull the orange cord," and they went, I said, "No." I was like, "I need my independence back," and that was the first goal I ever set post injury. There's so much involved with independence. It's not just writing. It's not just doing buttons and shoelaces and so on. It's so much more. And yeah, so it was. I just figured I've got all this time in hospital now. I was in hospital for 2 months all up in 2 different hospitals, and I just figured, I've got all this time in between visiting hours that I can sit here and fester like some kind and feel sorry for myself, or I can just pull my shit together and just get on with this new way of life. And I had plastic boots over my casts because I had my left ankle was reset with pins. And a handyman came in and I just said, "Can you drill me some holes in these boots, please? And I can have a bit of string." He said, "What for?" I said, "Look, I was right-hand dominant. I'm now left-handed, not by choice, but I want to learn how to tie shoelaces." And so in between visiting hours, I'd learn to write again, learn to write. I'd try and learn to do shoelaces and whatnot. And I got someone to bring me a shirt in. So I'd learn to do buttons up on a shirt.
That's incredible, especially at that age, and to have gone through what you've gone through, just to be that focused on living, that focused on, I have to do this stuff so that I can continue to live and be a normal functioning human being. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible.
I just thank you. I just think that throughout life, you're always going to come to junctions, and people always say, "Oh no, you can." There's 3 or there's 4. There's not. There's 2. There is 2 directions: yes or no, right or wrong. When you start adding others in, you go, "Oh, what about I don't know?" I don't know is irrelevant. Maybe is irrelevant. It's like, make a decision, go with it. And for me, that was, I can be a victim of my situation, or I can just get on with it, adapt this new way of life. Because I'm not about woe is me. I'm not about, like I said, there's people worse off than me. I don't live with a terminal illness. I don't live in a war-torn country. I am alive. So, and this sounds really wanky and cliche, but time owes you absolutely nothing. Life owes you absolutely nothing. You owe life and time everything you can give it. And so I was like, I want to be a man with one arm for the rest of my life. My arm's never coming back. So that's a situation. What are you going to do about it? I'm not going to be a victim. So sympathies are well and good and as a purpose, a part of a process. But at some point you have to leave the sympathy behind and you have to, pull yourself together. You really do have to pull yourself together. Take the shit with the sand, take the rough with the smooth, and go with the hand that you're dealt, whether you like it or not. That's just the way. That's my outlook on life. It's taken trauma, and trauma isn't just about losing a limb. There's so many different facets of trauma. My trauma has dealt me this hand, so I can make the choice of putting my hand down, or I can just play the hand I'm dealt. Which I'm very aware that this all sounds cliche. Oh, it's easy for you. No, it's easy for anyone. You've just got to be. I've become a person as a result of this, that if I can't control the influence on the outcome of a situation, and I'm ruthless about this, I do not waste my time, effort, or energy in trying to. And I've spoken to people about it before, and they've gone, "Oh yeah, it's easier said than done." No. It is easy to do. You might not like the situation you've got, but at the end of the day, if you can't, why waste your time trying to fix something that can't be fixed at that moment in time? Maybe later on, we'll come to that. What can you do? There's always something that can be done.
There's a good saying that's like, control the things you can change and accept the things you can't.
Yeah.
It might even be part of the Alcoholics Anonymous pledge or something, but
Yeah.
it's that kind of idea, isn't it? It's, you dealt the hand you dealt, and you have to be able to roll with it and do the best you can, kind of thing.
Yeah, you've got to roll with the punches. You have to, and there's that thing, isn't there? Is it what Rocky film is that from? It doesn't matter how many times you get hit. It's about how many times you can get hit down and keep getting back up.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington says something similar, and it says you fall down 7 times, get up 8. I love that. That's one of my favourite quotes.